You know what? Because the Bucks brought everybody back, because they got better down the stretch, and because
Run
they,
it back.
of course, beat the Saints in the playoffs. What's
Yep.
that?
I said run it back.
Oh,
That's the
okay, I was
Bucks
about to-
motto in 2021.
Yeah, you know what? I'd slow down a little bit on that. The Saints could win that division.
Huh.
The Saints could win the NFC South again. They won it last year. And again, the Bucks hit their stride later. They could win it again with Jameis Winston at quarterback. They got a lot of talent all over that roster. The defense is strong.
You know what?
We know about the skill positions. That Michael Thomas drama may have sorted itself out as he recovers from surgery or what have you. Jameis Winston is going to light it up. And if he controls those turnovers, I wouldn't just hand the Bucks the NFC South like, oh, they just go, they just going to repeat. It's a given. What? You were thinking the same thing?
No, I wasn't thinking the same thing, which is why I want to give you props. Because I think the New Orleans Saints have been victims of some thoughtless, probably lazy commentary. Hey, Drew Brees is gone, therefore they're rebuilding. They're not rebuilding. One, they're not rebuilding. Two, Drew Brees from last year, not to say he was bad the last couple of years, but it's not like you're talking about vintage Drew Brees in 2020. So much so, we know it wasn't vintage Drew Brees because he missed some games. He missed a handful of games. Shout out to our Peacock / NBC colleague, Drew Brees. Thank you. But it's not like, hey, they lost Brees, the whole thing's going to collapse. That's not the story of the New Orleans Saints. And I think a lot of people have kind of taken that approach, and that's wrong. As you pointed out, they did win the division last year. We kind of forget. It's funny. Like, the playoffs will just turn. In some ways, this is good. The playoffs, you have what you do in the playoffs, that defines you. Just knock the microphone off.
That's all people remember.
That defines you. That defines you. What you did in the playoffs, great. Okay, we win the Super Bowl, sure. But we've seen talented quarterbacks struggle in the playoffs, and all of a sudden, they can't win big games. Or a coach who makes a bad decision, he's a bad decision maker. Fact is, Tampa Bay took care of business when it had to, winning all those games on the road before finally playing the Super Bowl at home. But New Orleans had some great days against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year, and they did win the division. So for them to be dismissed out of hand because Drew Brees is not there, I think is wrong.
And I don't know that I wouldn't go so far as say people are dismissing them out of hand, but I definitely think it's considered Tampa's division to lose, and understandably so. They got Tom Brady, they got the whole roster back, running it back. I get it. For me, this is more about Tampa's old quarterback and his potential in his, not new team. I mean, he got to sit and watch Drew Brees last year, but with his second team. And Jameis is, and I mentioned this to you before. Obviously, today, news came out as expected. Jameis is the Week 1 starting quarterback. Outplayed Taysom Hill in the preseason. Allows Sean Payton to continue to deploy Taysom Hill at a number of positions, both on offense and on special teams, and obviously at quarterback when the need arises. I think it'll be more frequent, than just a change of pace here and there. But we'll see, because that's just Sean Payton. But nonetheless, it was no surprise that Jameis assumed the starting job. But he got that year apprenticeship under Drew Brees, which he raves about what he learned from Drew Brees.
Yeah.
And he's older, he's wiser, still silly, which I love, more seasoned. And, I think about guys throughout NFL history who have, maybe not even been a bust, but just a disappointment as a high pick in their first stop. And then they go on to greatness in a different situation. And I was identifying that for Jameis Winston last year when he signed with New Orleans. I'm like, oh, this is a dream scenario for both sides. Jameis gets to go and learn at the feet of Drew Brees and Sean Payton. And the Saints, you want to talk about a steal. Michael, this is like finding onion rings at the bottom of your French fries. This is like going and finding a pair of fragment ones in Marshalls. Like, to get this dude's a 5,000-yard passer. This is a former number one overall pick that you got to be really bad to get somebody of his caliber coming out of Florida State when he did, with the hype that he did. Okay, a Heisman Trophy winning number one overall pick. Got a world of talent, 5,000-yard passer, but you're only as funky as your last cut. So everybody remembers, all those pick sixes and those 30 interceptions he threw that last year. And he was always a turnover machine, but particularly those 30 interceptions he threw under Bruce Arians, which everybody knows, and we heard it last year with Tom Brady. You throw a lot of picks your first year with Bruce Arians, right? And so,
but you know what? But you can't just gloss that over.
Carelessness with the football exacerbated that. I'm not glossing over. I'm just saying.
You said he's a turnover machine. You kept going. You said he's a turnover machine. Well, okay. Well, we need you to be less of a turnover machine, whether you're in Bruce Arians' system or Sean Payton's. I mean, that's going to be a problem.
No, that goes without saying. He's got to control that. My point, though, is you typically don't find these types of quarterbacks at this age with this kind of talent on the bargain bin. Usually it's somebody, who's like, you know what, he just ain't got it. He's an out and out bust. Jameis Winston wasn't a bust so much as he didn't work out in Tampa. You understand what I'm saying? And the opportunity to get Tom Brady came along.
You brought up the perfect description for Jameis Winston. I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to ask you for some examples. But you brought up the perfect description. You were talking about quarterbacks. You said they are, how did you say it? There are franchise quarterbacks, and then there are starting quarterbacks.
And then there are starting quarterbacks.
Yeah, okay, so like he was expected to be a franchise quarterback. Yeah, well, he was trying to be the Bucs franchise quarterback. He wasn't. He was their starting quarterback. And so that's what the disappointment was, that this guy, number one overall, he could play. That's not. No one said, oh, he can't play football. It's just that he didn't play to the expectation that they had, and so they moved on. But hey, when somebody is expected to be a franchise quarterback, disappoints being a starting quarterback, does that mean they are just precluded from being a franchise quarterback again? Like he still has.
No.
He still has time to do that.
The glaring example throughout NFL history that always comes to my mind when I think about reclamation projects is Jim Plunkett, and how awful Jim Plunkett looked in New England and what he went on to do with the Raiders. The other part about Jameis Winston is because he's Jameis Winston, and that goes back to Florida State and everything that transpired at FSU, and he brings it on himself. A lot of times, it's like,
yeah.
I wash my hands. Don't worry. He does some stuff. And it's like it makes you roll your eyes a little bit. You know what I mean? But in Tampa, yes, he turned it over a lot, but they weren't exactly this stout team all the time during his Tampa tenure. Tom Brady certainly made it look like they were a quarterback away. It's hard to disprove that theory given what they did last year. But it wasn't like that organization and that roster around Jameis was perfect and devoid of flaws itself.
That's right.
What I'm saying is all Jameis has to realize is that, contrary to what his instincts may tell him, he does not have to do it all. He's got Pro Bowl players all over the place in front of him, behind him, on the outside when Michael Thomas in particular comes back, on defense. He's got
on
a
the
real
sideline
opportunity here.
Maybe on the
just
sideline.
Be a starting quarterback. You know what I mean? Not just to be a starting quarterback in the short term,
maybe
but this could be his gig for a while. Yeah, this is he's my Cam Newton this year. And hopefully I don't miss on this one. But you know how last year I just thought Cam Newton was going to shut everybody up and prove the people who had written him off from Carolina, prove them wrong last year in New England. I feel that strongly about Jameis Winston in New Orleans. And again, I got a more for me is I think they could win a division with him at quarterback. He unlocked so much more than Drew Brees could at the end of his career with that offense, as we saw in that last preseason game in particular.
I think you're right there. But I have a more contemporary example for Jameis Winston, a more contemporary comp, and it's closer to home for him. Because Jim Plunkett, like off the top of my head, I know Jim Plunkett won a Super Bowl with the Raiders. I don't know. Is he the quarterback of two of their teams?
Two
Two
of them.
Super Bowl teams? I know Flores was.
Two
But he
of
was
them,
the starting quarterback on both of them? Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So I know he
Yeah,
won two
15
Super Bowls.
15 and 18.
Yeah, I remember 15. Like I think that's where I put my first bet. It was Raiders Eagles. It was Raiders Eagles.
How old were you?
I wasn't but 4 years old.
It was
No, I was
1980.
young. I was 10. I was 10. I may have put a little something on that game. I was rooting hard for the Eagles, and got disappointed. But anyway, and that's where it started, bro.
Talk about your childhood one of these days. We need to talk about. I mean, that's some things
We'll
I
have
don't know.
to.
There's some things I don't know about your upbringing.
We'll have to.
Was you in
We'll have to
pool
bring it back.
halls
We'll have
that
to bring.
night? You know.
We'll have to bring it up. We'll have to bring it up. Don't worry about where I was. Don't worry about where I was. But here's so Jim Plunkett, I know he won Super Bowls.
Hey,
I'm not
baby.
sure what Plunkett's stats were.
Some of the weed.
I think I probably I was walking through a bar. I had a bottle and I said, "Don't you ever say
At
anything
10?
against my mother." Remember that Malcolm X?
Oh no!
Don't you ever say
I thought
anything
you were gonna go
against
Hall
my
of
mother.
Nights. I thought you were gonna go Hall of Nights. You out
no.
there shooting people in the head with the dice game in the back.
Oh, that's
you know
right.
what I mean?
Shooting people in the head and in the foot. Anyway, I digress.
And in the
But
foot.
Plunkett won.
Yeah.
He won.
We always digress.
I don't know.
We should change the name
I
of the
don't
show
know what his
from
stats
Brother
were.
from Another to Digressions and Tangents.
To-
That should be the name of the show, Digressions
No.
and Tangents.
Brother from another. ... We digress. Yeah, we do. We
Yeah.
just do. But I'll tell you somebody who didn't win the Super Bowls, but definitely had better stats than Plunkett.
Okay.
And they had the same thing. Plunkett was expected to be the franchise guy in New England. Didn't work out. Vinny Testaverde was expected to be the franchise guy
like
in
it.
Tampa.
I like it. In Tampa.
And he had
Yeah, I like it.
35
A lot of turnovers.
interceptions,
35
I believe.
picks. Yeah.
35.
Was that 87? Was that 80? Was
Yeah,
that 87?
my style-
Something like that?
Fife
Yeah.
Fife was rhyming about it. My style is incomplete, like Vinny Testaverde. I mean, like it was a pop culture
Yeah.
thing. Vinny Testaverde was a bust.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
Vinny went to Cleveland
Played till he was 50.
under Belichick. Then he went to
Probably
Baltimore.
could still play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he went to the Jets.
And he was a
Vinny was a
starting
really good
quarterback.
quarterback. Starting
And
quarterback.
he was a starting
but he
quarterback.
was good.
Nobody's franchise guy. Who knows what he'd have done if he hadn't blown out his Achilles that year with the Jets. So yeah, no,
With the Jets.
I'm with you. Like, yeah,
I think that's
I'm with you.
the count.
That's a
Same
really,
place.
That's a
Same-
more
get that
contemporary. And
inspiration.
you're right, closer to home. He could be the next Vinny Testaverde in
Sure.
Tampa. Oh hell, if we're gonna keep going Tampa, sorry, and he wasn't the number
Doug
one overall
Williams.
pick, but Doug Williams. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like you want the number one overall pick, but still somebody that, struggles in Tampa. Wait,
So we
one
need to-
more. Trent Dilfer.
Oh, one more. We got another?
Trent Dilfer. Okay.
In Tampa.
Trent Dilfer,
Hey, so the story is Tampa ruins quarterbacks. Tampa ruins quarterbacks. I think that's what we're saying.
Yeah.
Except for Tom Brady.
More or less.
If they're homegrown,
Yeah.
if you're a homegrown Tampa quarterback, you're ruined. The idea is to get to Tampa.
No, if you're
Go
a
ahead
homegrown
and
Tampa
struggle.
quarterback, the grass is green on
And
the
then
other
move
side.
on.
You're not ruined.
It
It's not
is.
where quarterbacks go to die. It's not the reincarnated Cleveland Browns up until Baker Mayfield. It's more like, hey, it's okay. This is just it's a rite of passage when it comes to quarterbacks. And it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what he does this year. Hey, let's take a quick break. I think
Let's
there
do
might
it.
be some technical difficulties we need to sort out. And on the other side, I
you can't
had
hear me?
speculated. No, it's not that. I had speculated about just how far Sean Payton would go when it came to playing Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill at quarterback. Just, again, spitballing because it's Sean Payton. You never know what he'll do.